So things have been pretty crazy recently in the Ark Survival Evolved community, and it's been ever since Wildcard released the game suggestions page. Now, if you're someone that's been following the videos recently, then you probably will know all about the game suggestions, but if you don't and you might be new to the channel or something, it's basically something Wildcard have set up which us as players can give suggestions of what we want to come to the game, and if it gets a lot of votes, then it gets debated by Wildcard to see if it has a potential to come to the game. Now, I recently did mine, which was talking about like a new TLC idea for the dinos and more new dinos coming to the game and something to keep the content fresh on Ark, and they actually did respond in the newest community crunch saying they thought it was a really cool idea and they cannot wait to share with us all the information and content they've got planned this year and that we will not believe how amazing it is. Recently, ever since obviously the game suggestions page was released, Wildcard have now been talking about new maps, new DLCs, and one that is really being talked about right now is the Ark Ocean DLC. About a month ago, I made a video on it because there was a dev that actually responded to the idea saying they liked it, and ever since then it has been talked about even more, and so much more has been built up onto it, and that is what I wanted to talk to you guys today with what has been rumoured and some more ideas that have been chucked into it, because I really feel like this is fantastic. And make sure to leave in the comment section down below whether you think this is a good idea and what could be added to it, because it's always nice to see other people's opinions and what they think about this, because the ocean, also something actually quickly to add in, something a lot of people have been talking about as well, which has a lot of votes, is to do an ocean TLC. So it'll be interesting if that happens or a DLC happens. There's so much going on with Ark and I don't even know what's going to be the first step. I just really want them to release something because there's so many people right now saying, you know, Ark is so boring, there's nothing being added in, yet they're Wildcard are talking about how we cannot believe what's coming up. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. But before we get into today's video, if you wouldn't mind dropping a like on this video, it would be fantastic as always. Let's try and hit over 500 likes, it really does mean a lot to me. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, and let's get straight in with today's video. So, Ark Oceanic Dlc. Now, you may have seen this in my last video, and there was a very big thread of it in the old suggestions that they had, but Wildcard did actually remove it, so that's why, you know, the topic of this has been so hot recently, because everyone's talking about it. The other one that you may have seen me do a video on is the Ark Sky DLC, which again, Wildcard have responded to, saying it's a good idea. So, anyway, bosses, Giant Electric Ray is summoned down near the Element River, shoots lightning at you, and summons mantas to its aid in battle. King Whale, summoned in a ship graveyard, summons different whales and basios to aid in its battle. The Kraken, summoned in Arklantis / Underwater Tech City, summons loads of giant squids and small squids in its aid to battle. So if you don't know about the Underwater Tech City, this is something again that has been talked about for a while, like, you know, not just within this post and stuff, but so many people have been going on about the Underwater Tech City that needs to happen. A giant shark, summoned in the coral reef, summons megalodons and helicopterons, or if I'm saying that wrong, this is something that that's a lot of people have been doing artwork for recently, and Jen actually tweeted out saying it was fantastic to aid in its battle. Now, this giant shark I wasn't too sure on, and the main reason is because so many people are wanting a TLC for the megalodon, so it'll be interesting if Wildcard decide to do a TLC for the megalodon and not do a giant shark, because I'd rather the megalodons get a TLC to look so much more scary and ferocious in the water. We will see. And then the Leviathan, summoned in the Toxic Sea, summons Dacosaurus and water wyverns and sea drakes to aid in its battle. Now, how fantastic does all of this sound? Imagine the hype for Ark Survival Evolved Water DLC. They wouldn't just get thousands of players back, they would get millions. And this is what I've been saying in a few other things recently because of the idea of new content coming to the game. Wildcard really has a chance to make Ark even more popular than it was when it first was released. That is just how crazy it could really be. Locations: Underwater Tech City, once home to the Arklantian tribe, once a beautiful landscape with specially built force field to keep water out of the city, now a destroyed and abandoned wreck. Deep Abyss, a large, immensely deep crack running throughout the Ark, only the biggest and baddest creatures dwell down here. Daco Trench, next to the Darkest located in the deep abyss. Refuge Island, so the largest landmass of the map, home to 90% land. Well, I suppose this is a certain place, what they want in the underwater land. Coral Reef, a shallow watered habitat, home to the abundance of life, of sea life. Sorry about that, guys, I'm struggling here. Swamp, located to the south of the Refuge Island. The swamp is full of nasty creatures and will not be for the faint-hearted. Mangrove Swamp, located next to the swamp, a more passive and beautiful place and contains more friendly creatures. Giant Iceberg, a giant iceberg connecting to Refuge Island. Underwater cave system, underground cave system, a network of caves underneath Refuge Island and its surrounding area, contains moon pools leading out of the water. Toxic sea, a sea filled with toxic water, and apparently there could be certain causes of element and things like that to it. Wyvern Coral Dome Nest, a coral dome housing a hive of water wyverns located in the toxic sea. Underwater mountain, I suppose a huge mountain under the sea, home to the hive of the sea drakes. Underwater volcano, an underwater volcano surrounded by a circular-like shaped trench with volcanic vents at the bottom. The water is poisonous due to the toxic volcanic chemicals being released out of the vents, home to the nest of the water wyverns. Underwater forest, a forest consisting of aquatic trees along with the other just different aquatic stuff around life and whatever. Seagrass plains, an underwater field of seagrass located close to the coral reef, home to the grazing aquatic life, so that'll be obviously the smaller things. Kelp forest, a forest of kelp home to hunters which prefer to stalk their prey, located near the underwater forest. Whale/ship graveyard, a graveyard consisting of sunken ships and scattered whale skeletons. That sounds pretty awesome. Element crevice, a small crevice in the toxic sea, obtaining an element lake at the bottom with rocks seeping elements surrounding it. Sandbars are scattered throughout the area surrounding Refuge Island. And then giant underwater air pocket, air pockets containing life. So these different ideas are fantastic for the different locations. So we've got amazing new bosses, and then the locations sound great as well. And it's so good to see when people put so much effort into things, because this can really help out Wildcard a lot when they actually want to release stuff. So creatures, sea/hydro wyvern. An aquatic-based wyvern suited for water-based habitats, can shoot a scalding hot hydroblast that can pierce armor and inflict a scalding effect, heating up the victim and causing health loss. Can also utilize a sonic blast that can stun creatures and riders, people riding on creatures and everything like that. When leaving the water, it loses hydration. Water wyverns can be obtained by stealing an egg from their hives, similar to how they're normal. You normally get wyverns. Sea drakes, an aquatic counterpart of the cave dwelling rock drake, and gain a small pack bonus. They live in a hive in the giant underwater mountain. There are 2 ways to tame them: steal an egg and hatch it up, or feed them sea wyvern eggs. A sperm whale, a giant whale found dwelling in the deep abyss and ship graveyard, able to be seated with 20-man seater, which sounds crazy, gains an attack and defense buff against squids, and fed by knocking out and feeding it. That sounds crazy. So the actual giant squid tentacles. So imagine a huge whale that you and your tribe can all sit up on and go through the seas. And I just think that would be fantastic. But, all on the side. Just imagine an underwater DLC. The Dacosaurus, a large sea reptile related to the mosasaur. It can barrel roll in the water, sending anything contacted flying. Obtained by stealing an egg and feeding it Daco salt, obtained by knocking out a male Dacosaurus or successfully killing an alpha Dacosaurus. Their trench is found in the south part of the deep abyss. Predator X, referred as the sea equivalent of the Giga. This literal monster is said to be untamable, yet few have succeeded. Due to their high aggression to their own kind, only will exist on the Ark at a time. able to grab onto creatures for a few seconds, giving it time to use its thrashing attack, causing bleed and crippling, and it's tamed by being knocked and fed Dacosaurus meat, a rare drop attained by hunting Dacosaurus. Helicoprions, I never know if I'm saying that name right, but it's a shark with a strange feature. This shark has a buzzsaw looking structure to its mouth. When tamed, it can efficiently harvest high quality chunks of meat. In battle, it can also inflict a bleed attack. I've seen, and these have been talked about for so long. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this name, but I've definitely seen this before. The Ark Leon, I'm going to go for, or something like that. Referred as the healer of the sea, it has the ability to heal itself and allies in battle, taking reduced damage around its shell. This creature is naturally slow, yet can use short boosts of energy to dash forward, tamed by knocking out passive feeding at biotoxin or seagrass. Giant Gulper Eel. This huge eel is feared by everything due to its large appetite, eating anything in its path. It is commonly seen with smaller eels following around it. When tamed up, it can gulp up smaller creatures, giving it a healing bath. It can ally itself with wild eels in battle, tamed by dragging dead corpses over towards their path of movement. Now, this is the Equus' sea cousin, apparently. It is said that when the Equus had no fields to roam, they travelled to the water and became the hippocampus. Able to use a spin attack that causes torpor and a head-butt attack that can stun small to medium creatures. If approached, it will spin or headbutt the approacher, allowing it to flee. Tamed by riding it while feeding it seagrass, and saddle is used as a mortar and pestle. That sounds like a good idea. Dugon, I think that's what they're going for. The cow of the sea. This slow and sluggish creature spends its time grazing the seagrass that floods the grazing on the seagrass that flood its seagrass fields home. Used as a berry gathering mouth, if forced into combat, it can smack creatures with its tail, crippling them, allowing it to flee. Tamed by passively feeding it seagrass. And finally, I was about to say finally, look how many there is. There's so many different ideas here. I thought that was it there. The Pactuous, I think, a small crocodilian, passive to everything, tamed for their loyal companionship, and passively tamed by feeding it fish meat. Bubblefish, a transparent fish that lives just about anywhere. When tamed, it can be worn as a helmet and passively tamed. Cuttlefish can camouflage, you can camouflage it and its rider, and is also able to latch onto creatures and drag them, passively tamed with silica pearls. I'm not even going to try and say this, but a shark with an anvil-shaped lump on its head. We know that. That's like a prehistoric one. Used as a smithy when tamed, and it's a knockout tame. Giant boxer crab can heal itself using things in the sea, I suppose. Can use a power-up punch attack when damaged up to metal and can stun creatures. This is a sea equivalent to the Pavlovia, which is crazy. The next one is a fish-like creature, gains a pack bonus and can cause a bleed effect. It's a knockout tame. Deep sea worms, giant sandworms that appear anywhere through the ocean that are not tameable. A seal-like creature warms up players riding it, and it's a passive tame. A smaller sauropod live in and around water, passive or knockout tame. The next one is a smaller, similar-looking version of the Quet, can dive underwater, dive bomb and impale creatures, and has a multi-seater saddle and platform saddle, tamed by stealing eggs and hatching them up, and is breedable. A carnivore version of the Moschops, an early game mount that can harvest prime meat and plants. The next one, a prehistoric dolphin, gains a pod bonus when gaining a pod bonus. I'm sure that'll be edited and changed because this is very, very early on. An aquatic iguana can supply oxygen to the owner, passively tamed with kelp. And finally, the giant sea snake can burrow underground and constrict creatures. Now that would be a scary thing in the game. Now we're moving on to the items. So hide flippers, a small large platform sub, rebreather, new saddles, aquatic guns, element pump, waterproof structures, torpedoes, primitive goggles, hydro pack, flipper attachments, coral metal chambers, and shocking trank harpoon. That is absolutely awesome. And then there's another thing he added in here saying this is not everything, but this is what I have typed. So resources, he's also gone for cork wood, which is a substitute for wood, coral used to make coral armor and coral structures, tube coral, stone coral used as a substitute for wood, kelp, seagrass, plant species O, special gel used as a source to make sea lanterns and fuel them, sponge coral used in crafting waterproof chambers. This is everything that has been talked out so far, so make sure to let us know. That was pretty crazy, and it took me a long time to go through all of that. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below, because this is huge, and imagine how popular a underwater DLC would be for Ark. Ark Oceanic Dlc, or just call it Ark Oceanic. I know for a fact this would do so well, and I just now want Wildcard to release to us what is coming next, because it could just be anything right now, and we are just going through the most popular ideas of what we could expect coming to the game very soon. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. It really does mean a lot to me. If you did enjoy today's video, smash a like, go show some support to this guy. If we can hit over 500 likes, that would be amazing. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Again, that means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys later.